That's a good start. I'm on mute. Hello and welcome to Ask Wildman. My name is Miles Bassett, and this is a open Q&A brought to you by Wildman Web Solutions. We are a digital marketing agency based here in Lawrence, Kansas. We specialize in bringing digital marketing services to small and medium-sized businesses. So that's websites, SEO, social media marketing, design services, ad campaigns, the works. And we are here every week streaming live to our Facebook and YouTube pages to answer your questions. Any and all questions you want to ask us about advertising, marketing, technology, business in general, we are here to answer those questions. And we're doing this every week, live streaming to our Facebook and YouTube pages. Wednesdays at 11. Also, if you haven't checked it out yet, we are putting this out as a podcast. So be on the lookout for that. We'll have links on our website and on our social media as soon as that is pushed out live, if it's not already. We'll be publishing to anywhere podcasts are heard. To help me today answering your questions, I have Mr. Mike Hanna, 2-1. Mike.
Good morning, Miles. How in the heck are you doing today, sir? Good to see you.
I'm doing great. I am so happy. It's a beautiful day. It is no longer sub-zero here in Kansas. Thank God. That was a little bit long for me with those Arctic conditions. I'm ready to be done with that for a little while.
Make a man out of you. Back in my day, no, just kidding.
Walked uphill both ways. There was snow, ice. Yes.
Yes. We'll get some questions to answer and be of service to some folks today.
Yeah, so this is an open Q&A for anyone and everyone who wants to join in here. So we'll have a couple of topics that we're going to go over. But if you have any questions about getting your business online, leveraging social media, improving your website, showing up in search, whatever it is you want to ask us about, this is what we do all day, every day professionally, and we are happy to give you the secret sauce on anything and everything that we do here. So we'll be here for the next half hour or so, just live streaming. Again, if you are not catching this live, but you still want to ask us a question, or you want to get involved, you can email us your questions at askwildman@wildmanweb.com, and we will get back to you either via email or we'll answer your questions live on next week's show. Like I said, this is a weekly show. We're doing this Wednesdays at 11, live streaming to our Facebook and YouTube, and hopefully some other social channels here in the near future. But for right now, that's where we are. So pick your poison and then like, share, follow, subscribe. You know what to do. Okay, so we're going to be starting with a couple of questions coming in through the emails and that we've just kind of gotten from clients over the last week or so. I guess I'll start. I've got a fairly simple one here, relatively speaking anyway. We had someone ask about ADA compliance. If you're not familiar with this, most websites aren't required to be ADA compliant, but it is a really nice thing to do. This is the, what is that acronym? Americans with
Disabilities Act.
Yes, American with Disabilities Act. There, I was going to get there. I just needed a little time. So I need a couple more cups of this before I'm all the way at full speed.
Keep it going.
So, yeah, the Americans with Disability Act requires websites to configure their sites in certain ways so that people mostly focusing on the visually impaired can still interact with your website in a meaningful way. So there's a lot of different disabilities that can interfere with someone's ability to work with your website. But the big one that we're going to focus on here is that visual impairment, because they are interacting with your website in a way that no one else is. They're utilizing tools like screen readers that heavily rely on the text content of your website. So it's not just, that pictures aren't going to be as relevant. It's that the site itself, the structure of it, influences how we interact with it, tells us what we can click and what we can't, what's a button, what's an image, what's a link. I mean, you don't even realize it when you're looking through a website, but you recognize that this little bit here is a slightly different color, and therefore that is a link. And that's something that is not present for the visually impaired. So utilizing tools like screen readers, they can scroll through a website, hover over things, and it will audibly tell them what it is that they're looking at, what's on the page, or what they're focusing on with their mouse. So in order to be ADA compliant and to be useful to people like that who are browsing your site and want to engage with your content, you really got to focus on the text side of your site. This actually helps in a couple of different ways, even if you are mean and don't care about visually disabled people, visually impaired people. There's still some benefits to having some of these things in here, and really leveraging the text side of your site, because that's also what search engines are seeing, and other crawlers, they're just seeing the text. They don't know what that is a picture of necessarily. So this could be a good option for anyone and everyone to really look into. The big things that you want to do for making your site compliant and really leveraging the text side of everything is to focus on your metadata for your pages, for your posts, for your images, pretty much anything that you're adding to your website. It will come with something called metadata. Metadata is information about the item, not information on the item, or the object that we're talking about. Again, that can be a page or an image or a video, whatever it is. This is information about that object. So it'll give you an opportunity to put in something called a title, and that's just, very, very brief, 1 or 2 words of what this thing actually is. Potentially a description or tags or categories, depending on what kind of technology you're using to build your website and what kind of information you're uploading. It'll give you a bunch of different options to input this metadata. The more accurate metadata that you apply to your images, to your posts, to your new pages, the more adherent you're going to be towards tools used by the visually impaired. So when they hover over an image, they're going to get their screen reader to say something that is actually relevant. I'll see some people, they just use those spots for their own keywords. So it's not actually a picture of, I don't know, they put up a picture of a dog on their website, and instead of saying, on the title, this is a picture of a dog, it says their keywords for their business. So that could be helpful in search, but it's definitely not ADA compliant. It's definitely not doing any services to the visually impaired that are interacting with your website. So make sure that this is accurate information. Ideally, you are putting in some relevant keywords in there, because hopefully the images on your site, the pages on your site are relevant to your business. Those two things really should go hand in hand. But really, you're going to want to put something in there that is descriptive. Think, if I couldn't see what this is, and I just had to have someone describe it to me and tell me what it is that I'm looking at, that's what this needs to be. And there's not a whole lot of, there's some very extensive guidelines when it comes to ADA compliance specifically. But in general, as long as you make an effort towards something like that, you're putting in relevant titles and descriptions for each one of your website pages and for each one of your pieces of media that you put up there, then you're probably going to be in a pretty good position. A lot of people don't do this. So if you just put in a good effort to put in these good titles and relevant descriptions, then you're going to be in a pretty good place. If you really want to go above and beyond, then check out the website content accessibility guidelines. This is just a freaking textbook on all of the things that you can do to tick all of those boxes and make sure that you are 100% in compliance. And there are some tools out there. There are some that come with website builders, like for WordPress, for example, because that's a super popular one. There are ADA specific plugins that you can do. It'll plug into your site. It'll find everywhere where you are missing the mark and tell you what to do. So all you have to do is fill in the blanks, and it will make your site compliant. And there's tools like that all over the place. So if you're really wanting to hit all of that, and you really want to check all those boxes, or your industry for whatever reason requires it, make sure to use one of those tools to scan your site and find all of the opportunities for compliance improvements.
Yeah, that's a great tip, Miles. There, getting the site scanner, just so you can double check and be sure, because a lot of people don't know what to look for. And as you just laid out there, there's a lot of layers to this. And the other thing I think is to be cautious of what state you're in. I know some states, they do have laws regarding this. I've heard a horror story out of California, I believe it was, where there are companies out there that literally they're predatory companies, and they literally go and find unsuspecting businesses and basically hold their site hostage for a ransom and say, hey, we're going to report you, get your website shut down if you don't do what we say. And somebody I heard that was telling this sad story said, their lawyers are basically like, you could fight this and win, and it cost you $100,000, or you could pay them the $10,000 they want, and they had to write a check for $10,000. So I don't think we have to worry about that here in the Kansas City area. But some of our clients, and certainly people who might find the show, may be in a state where that's happening. And so just another. I know business owners, we have a million things to check off, but it's just another thing to put on the list, to cover your what, and make sure you don't get ended up with being held ransom or a fine from the state or some sort of litigation over it. And the fact that, just there's a lot of, visually impaired people out there, and you want to make sure those people can navigate your website. That's really where it comes from.
Yes, there is a hierarchy of goals here. First, you need to make your site so that people can interact with it regardless of their visual abilities. And secondly, to not get sued. And then the third is to hopefully rank a little bit better, improve your search results. So make sure to have your priorities in order when you're working on this. But yes, there are businesses like that. I'm not even sure if I want to call them businesses, predatory organizations that go out and sue people. They are usually looking for a settlement, an out-of-court settlement, because the way that the laws are written here, generally, like I said, if you're making an effort towards that, a real effort to make your site compliant, then you're not going to be held legally accountable for not having a exactly proper title on one of your pictures or something. It's kind of subjective in how they measure that. So as long as it looks like you are putting in some sort of real effort there, you're not just completely ignoring the concept, then you're probably not going to be held legally liable. But there are people that will try to look for that out-of-court settlement, knowing that fighting something like that can be very difficult and expensive.
Got it.
All right, so if you guys have any questions on compliance issues or anything like this, then please throw those questions in the comments. This is an open Q&A to anyone and everyone who's watching or seeing this later. Feel free to email us your questions at askwildman@wildmanweb.com, and we'll get to you later. So yeah, if you have any questions on compliance or anything else regarding digital marketing, please